Handy Hudsonite here. We're going to look at 7 ways to cut costs when it comes to commuting, whether that's commuting to work, commuting to school, or commuting to common activities. So the first way that you can cut down on commuting costs, if you're able, is to bike, to ride your bike. If this is possible, if it's just you commuting, if it's you and others, then that can get a little more complicated. And let's say you don't want to bike the entire way from home to work or home to any destination that you want to get to. Well, consider taking your bike on a bike rack on your car, or there are even public buses that have bike racks now that you can either bus or drive part of the way and then bike the rest of the way. And sometimes if you're working in a large metropolitan area, this is favorable because parking is expensive or parking is hard to come by downtown. So riding your bike can tend to be an advantage when it comes to riding into an urban area. Secondly, consider carpooling, whether this is carpooling with friends or coworkers, or there are rideshare programs in cities. I know there's one here in Seattle that you can be a part of to be able to cut down on costs and also on the wear and tear of your own vehicle. Third way to consider cutting costs when it comes to commuting, and this would apply more to a work situation, would be to see if there's a way that you can work remotely for either all of the work hours or some of them, or maybe every other week they would let you work remotely so you wouldn't have to drive in. And it's worth asking your department, your supervisor, if this is possible, because sometimes they will let you do this. They just don't make it something available up front, but they're open to it, and it's a person-by-person basis depending on your role. So being able to work remotely could save money drastically when it comes to commuting for gas, upkeep, costs for your car, and other wear and tear situations, tolls. So consider that as a great third option for cutting costs for commuting. A fourth tip for cutting commuting costs would be to consider driving at different times that wouldn't have quite as much traffic. And if this is not possible for you, then maybe there's a different route that you could take. If you can't leave at a different time, then consider a different route that maybe would have less traffic on it or possibly would be quicker. I always check Google Maps to see which way is going to get me home the fastest, and it does update in real time, so that's an advantage. The fifth way to cut commuting costs, and this is maybe one that a lot of you have not considered, would be to compare the cost of paying a toll so that you could drive in a carpool lane or hot lane that would enable you to drive as a single driver, maybe with one other person, to be able to ride in a lane that doesn't have nearly as much stop and go traffic. And even though you're paying the cost of a toll, it could offset the cost of gas, and either you could come out breaking even or possibly even save some money, because when you're in stop and go traffic, using gas is something that becomes a large issue. Sixth tip for cutting commuting costs would be to look for cheaper gas. There's an app called Gas Buddy that I've used from time to time to help find inexpensive gas at gas stations, though you want to be careful not to get gas that is going to be less quality. So you want to research some of the gas stations to make sure that the gas you're putting in your car still is going to be decent quality, because there are some stations that cut down on that quality and your car can suffer from that. But there are ways to save gas, save money on gas, so that you can cut those commuting costs when you're driving 5 days a week or more to get to work or to any destination. And number 7, lastly, let's think about possibly upgrading to a vehicle that would be a hybrid or electric, so that you have very minimal gas costs. And that would be one that you need to research your budget to see if that is something that will pay off over time in such a way that will enable you to save money. And if you are just commuting within a city and that's primarily your only driving that you do, then having an electric vehicle would make sense, especially if they have plug-ins at your office that you could just be charging your car on a regular basis and would enable you to cut out gas costs completely on your vehicle. So, and a hybrid vehicle is another great solution if you're not ready to invest in a pure electric vehicle. And even a small car that's gas only can also save a lot of money, especially if you're driving a larger SUV or van or just a larger car and you want to downsize, and that can cut costs considerably. And gas powered cars are still a little bit cheaper than the electric or hybrids, but do consider the tax advantage for electric cars and what you could get back in your taxes. So those are 7 tips looking at how you can cut commuting costs, and because it is expensive and the cost of gas is going up, so these are ways that you can keep more money in your pocket. Again, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can get updated when I put up videos, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next one.